God, it's Friday. Good morning, Wareham. It is Friday, March 1st. We have a great show here for you, the news headlines, the weather report, and of course, today in history. Megan Neely, the editor at Wareham Week newspaper, is in the studio this morning to cover the story of the day. We'll chat with Megan about the core efforts to build the playground in Onset. And also Nicole Litchfield of TNB Landscaping Business in Wareham is also here this morning to talk about the electric lawnmower that is also environmentally friendly. And also there is a new church in Wareham, and to learn more about Power in Prayer Church from Chaplain Sarah J. Price, you'll do that during our coffee segment. So stay with us because more information coming your way. But first, I would like to take this moment to thank Not Your Average Antiques, an antique shop down Cranberry Highway in East Wareham, for donating the props that you see in the Good Morning Wareham set. So stay with us because the weather, traffic report, and the news headlines are next. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. That is the theme of this weekend. Snow is expected today and leading to tomorrow. 1 to 3 inches of snow are expected. Cloudy skies today with high at 37 degrees. Cloudy with periods of snow after midnight and low at 28 degrees tonight. Snow and more rain in mix on Saturday with high at 35 degrees and low at 26 degrees. A pause from snow on Sunday with high at 39 and low at 33 degrees. Expect normal traffic at Route 3 and 495. The weather conditions are good, and so safe travels, everyone. And now to the news. There were a few news stories over the week, and here are the news headlines. Wareham Week newspaper had these headlines. Wareham Core, that is Community Outdoor Recreation, is exploring new options for Lops Playground rebuild. Plans to rebuild the Lops Playground in Onset this May have been put on hold after volunteers received a memo from the town that said the Wareham would no longer support the project due to flooding hazards. The nonprofit spearheading the project said that they are determined and the decision made does not mean the end of the project. Wareham Core President Daliza Fernandez said, we want to do right by the community, and for us that means finding a way to fulfill our original obligations as best as we can. And in another news, Wareham Selectmen has recommended approval for track resurfacing and a bylaw changes at town meeting. Selectmen recommended favorable action for several agenda items on Tuesday night that will go before voters at town meeting this April. Among those were a $200,000 request to repair the Anderson track at Wareham Middle School and potential changes to 2 of Wareham zoning bylaws, one regarding front yard storage and other regarding temporary signs. The funds to repair the track would come from the town's Community Preservation Fund if approved by voters. Community Preservation Committee co-chair Sandy Slavin said committee agreed to approve the new request with the stipulation that said future maintenance of the track would be done by the schools. And to our last news of the day, a Marion firefighter dies hours after he came home from fighting a house fire. Firefighter Christopher Nye, age 72 years old, served as a call firefighter with the Marion Marion Fire Department for 45 years. He responded to and helped extinguish a chimney fire on Point Road shortly before 1 p.m. on Tuesday and then returned home. He suffered what is believed to be a cardiac incident and collapsed early Wednesday morning. Firefighter Nye was transported to Toby Hospital where he was pronounced dead. And that is all I have for today's news headlines. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break. It is a tradition here in Good Morning Wareham show to host the editor of Wareham Week newspaper. Miss Megan Neely is here today to cover the story of the day segment. Welcome, Megan.
Hey, Queen. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, this was kind of a quieter week for us, but we still have a couple of big things going on. I'd like to talk about the Lopes Playground rebuild, help people understand a little bit more about what's going on there.
Okay.
There was a presentation of the school budget last night at the school committee meeting, and the Vikings just recently lost their state tournament bid for hockey.
Oh, okay. Let's start with the playground rebuild. Tell us some information. Okay, what are they trying to do, and how are things at the moment? Because the headline, apparently Wareham is no longer going to support the project. So give us some background information and then we can dive into the latest news.
Yeah, so it was actually a little murky for me, and I've learned more over the past couple of days talking to our town administrator, Derek Sullivan. But so basically what happened is Wareham Outdoor Recreation Corps wanted to rebuild Lopes Playground. It's that old wooden structure in Onset. They wanted to create a new structure that was going to be handicap accessible and just generally safer and more up-to-date for kids to use. Back in June, however, they received a memo from the town, which owns the land at Lopes Field, saying that they could no longer support the project due to flooding hazards.
Now, they wanted to rebuild the new playground at the same place, right? So demolish the current playground and build a new one. So now the town is telling them that they cannot support them because of the flooding problem?
It's a little bit more complicated than that, because originally what Corps had proposed would be to install like a rubberized surface on the playground as opposed to wood chips, which would be more friendly for wheelchairs and things of that nature. However, as Derek Sullivan said, the problem is, even though Lopes Field hasn't flooded in recent memory, because it is so close to a body of water, anytime we get a significant amount of rain, there doesn't have to be significant flooding for moisture to get under that rubberized surface and kind of make it balloon and tear. So upkeeping it would be extremely expensive.
So they are not opposing for the rebuild, but they are opposing for the details,
the details of the rebuild.
Details of the rebuild.
Yeah.
All right. So what has the organization said?
Well, as a result of them getting this memo back in June, they've been playing around with a lot of different options for what they can do going forward. They've already raised over $100,000 from grants and private donors, a lot of whom are on-set residents who, are waiting to see what's going to happen because this is their community playground. So, they're looking into, is there a different builder we can use? Is there some kind of insurance we could get that we could still do the rubberized surface and it would be covered? Did they move the playground to another location? Do they do something else on that site instead? And accessibility is still remaining a major concern. Deliza, who's kind of spearheading it and has been the core president, she's in a wheelchair herself and grew up in Onset. So having an accessible playground is really important to her and the people who are working on this project.
Okay.
So while they've said that they've kind of figured out what they want to do with it, they haven't made a formal announcement yet.
Okay. Do we have ideas to, if they are to move the playground, what areas would be suitable for this playground?
I mean, there's been some talk that it could go to the Hammond School. There's been some talk that it might go to the new elementary school that Wareham is building over Minot Forest, but nothing set in stone yet. There's been a lot of speculation, but we don't really know where it could end up.
Okay. All right. So if it is that they are not, if they're going to update some of their details of the plan, the town will come back to supporting them, right? Now, do we know how much money is the town going to fund them?
The town, as far as I can tell, doesn't seem to have any money invested. The real issue with the town is that the town owns the land at Lopes Field.
Oh, therefore they're going to not let them build.
Yes, because it's town-owned land. They can only do so much with the town's permission.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so we're not even talking about money here. We're
No,
talking
it's not, because this has all been raised through grants and private donors. It's a complete volunteer effort.
Now, is this new news to them? Why is this coming out now after hundreds of thousands of dollars raised already?
That was kind of what I said. I was very surprised when we got a press release from CORE and it said that, this memo came out in June, but we had never heard about it in June. And I think the reason it's coming out now is because the rebuild was supposed to start in May. And here we are on the first day of March and nobody's been seeing any activity. It really seems like, there's been a lot of change in people coming through CORE as volunteers. And as Deliza said when I talked to her on the phone, she's only one person, so she can't make a decision. They all have to kind of come together collaboratively as a board to decide what they want to do next.
And they have Judy Whiteside, who used to be a selectman back in the day.
I believe Judy moved to Florida recently, so she's no longer with CORE, and I think that was another part of the thing.
Okay, because I could imagine, the resources that she will bring to CORE will be able to help them navigate this problem. So if Judy is no longer there, I could only imagine.
There's been a lot of change in people going through CORE, and so they've really just been trying to come together as a board to figure out what they're going to do.
Okay.
They had a meeting recently. It wasn't a public meeting, so I don't really know what the outcome was, but they have still been meeting together, and they do want to get this project off the ground. It's very important to them. They're just trying to figure out what the next steps are going to be.
Well, I wish them all the best, really. I know there's a there is some importance to having the new playground at the current location. So I hope that they will figure a way of having it at the current location. Even maybe those rubber plaques that they're talking about, maybe they could be, as easily as dismembered at the end of the day and taken away rather than a permanent, layout that if we do get flooded, that it won't be that big of a risk, that big a deal. Okay, so that is out. Our second news, budget presentation yesterday.
Yeah, so the school committee is working to kind of finalize what their line items are going to be for this $29 million budget that they've recommended that voters are ultimately going to have to approve at Springtown meeting. But right now they're working with about a $71,000 shortfall, which means they have it set at $29 million, but there's still about $71,000 they need to figure out where they're going to get it from.
Okay. And so by figuring out where they're going to get it from, any ideas to where this money is coming from?
So basically what they've been doing, the budget subcommittee has been going through looking at line items and saying, okay, what do we really need? What can we afford to get rid of? They're not cutting any current positions, but they are cutting requested positions.
What are requested positions?
2 foreign language teachers, they won't hire them. There was a position for a dean for special education. They're not going to go through with that now. They wanted to make Wareham's athletic director full-time. They've decided to keep him at half-time to save some money. And a lot of this was done, too, because they want to bring on 8 full-time paraprofessionals and a part-time paraprofessional to Wareham's kindergarten.
Okay.
So they've basically been meeting with teachers to try and figure out what student needs are and what's the best way that they can meet those with this budget.
So then athletics and physical education is not a priority at this time? I
don't know if I would say that, because the athletic director, Ed Rodriguez, I think he does a really good job for being halftime. And his role is to more manage all the different sports teams and deal with that nature as opposed to an actual gym teacher teaching physical education.
Okay. So nobody's going to be laid off from their position.
No.
Okay.
And as far as they talked about other ways that they could make up that $71,000, it looks like it's mostly going to be cuts to supplies and materials. Business manager Susan Owen said she was hopeful that, maybe a teacher or two will retire in the coming months and then they won't have to salary them anymore. So there's a lot that can happen between now and town meeting.
Helpful that the teacher may retire.
There's probably somebody out there who's been thinking about it for a while now.
They're going to encourage them to retire. Take this time, travel, go out there. I love it. Okay, and so our hockey team, what happened to them?
Wareham Carver Vikings, because we are a joint hockey team, had an absolutely incredible season, but fell just short at the state playoffs in the first round against Bishop Fan.
Is this the first time? Or they have crossed that line before?
Because I am so new to town, I don't really know the extent of their history, but I mean, this really was a great season for them. They had a really good overall record. They beat Bourne High School for the first time in 15 years with like a score of 5-2. They were doing incredible. They had made it really far, to get to the state playoffs, but in the end, Bishop Fan was just a bigger, fiercer team.
Ooh, but all good things must end someday. Hopefully next year.
Hopefully there are enough kids who are juniors and sophomores that are going to be returning and they can get back there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Megan. Do you want to make your announcement today or next?
No. We'll go next time.
You're not going to leave me hanging. I'm not going to be the one making the announcement without you.
No, not at all.
Well, thank you so much for taking this time to cover the stories of the day. I learned so much from you. So that was Megan Neely, the editor of Wareham Weekly newspaper, to discuss the story of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back with today's featured story, where we'll be speaking to Nicole Litchfield of T&B Landscape Business.
Testing.
Welcome back. For today's featured story, we have Nicole Litchfield in the building with us to talk about their electronic lawnmower that is also good for the environment. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for responding to my ad on Facebook that I need a guest.
I was very excited to do it.
So you have been talking about this lawnmower for quite some time. You featured it first during Decker's home show.
Yes.
Was it last year or 2 years ago?
Last year. Yep.
Okay. So tell us first a little bit about your business, and then we can dive into the lawnmower.
Okay. So my husband, Brian, and myself, we own T&B Landscaping. We've been in business for 13 years. We moved to Wareham 7 years ago, so we spread our business in our service area. So we started all the way to Falmouth, and we do Wareham. We service Marion, Rochester, and Mattapoisett.
Fantastic. So what do you enjoy about your business, landscape? Why landscape business?
There's a lot of different reasons. I feel for me, I love being outside.
Okay.
I love physical work.
Yeah.
I love plants. I love making things beautiful.
Okay.
And I love details.
All right.
So I uber focus on people's properties all the time, every little thing, every little weed. It's just enjoyable for us.
Oh.
And owning your own business, as tough as it is, it can be very beneficial.
Fantastic.
You know, certain freedoms, you know. But it's hard. It's hard.
You're the boss. So let's talk about this electronic lawnmower. Why? Because it's expensive, isn't
Yes.
it? So why would you do this to your business?
Well, let me just step back a little bit. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, we started with, my husband really started this whole ball rolling. We actually had a propane-fueled mower that was really new. It was a conversion kit that we put on an old mower we had, and we were a lot smaller then. And we started it just, everybody says landscaping is the green industry. You plant plants and trees and you have oxygen and all that. But landscaping is one of the biggest pollutants, also landscapers. And I hate saying this, I'm in the business just for emissions, and we can go over that a little bit more. And we were always trying to find a way to be different. We were always trying to find the future for us, because there's a million landscapers out there. There are. It's a cutthroat business. I mean, Wareham has a bunch of them. The Cape has a bunch of them. And we wanted to stand out and make a difference. We wanted to be a little bit different. So the propane mower didn't really go that well because the technology was new. So my husband started researching mean green mowers.
And then you found the electronic lawnmower.
Yes, Mean Green has been in business for quite some time, but they were trying to be, and they are the first business to build a commercial mower that lasts a full mowing day for landscapers. There is no mower that can do that. You can have a push mower, a homeowner, plug it in, it might last 20 minutes. They just finally got their patent. It's the first and only one of its kind. There are other companies are a little behind, and as we're moving as a country and society towards zero emissions, environmental things, they got the niche.
Wow. Okay. So apart from helping the environment, what are the benefits that comes with this electronic lawnmower?
Well, there's a lot of benefits, but I think the two key core benefits for us is obviously our mower's zero emissions.
Okay.
And also the quiet factor.
Tell me about the quiet factor. How loud is the traditional lawnmower?
Well, let's get technical, and I'm not into science, so I'll throw decibels out, and I have my sheets here so I can read them.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'll try to break it down so people can understand as far as the noise. And you have a video, I think, that shows that. So,
would you like us to start with the video?
Yeah, and then maybe we can touch upon that.
So whenever you are ready at the studio, please load that video so we can take a look at the lawnmower. That is very interesting. First, I recognized the noise.
decibels.
Very, very, very quiet, the electric lawnmower. And also, when he started the traditional one, you could feel that the emissions right there, poof.
Yes, that's key right there. Our mower, the electric mower, if anybody has been in, obviously in their neighborhoods, and there's landscapers in neighborhoods, even though they can't see them, you can hear them. And a lot of people don't like that. Our mower, as soon as we start it, it doesn't make a sound at all until the blades engage. And it's like a hairdryer hum. But as soon as you start the gas-powered mower, the exhaust, you can hear it. You can hear it a mile away.
Yes. And
So-
we have some pictures too. Feel free to put the pictures up there so people can take a look at how the lawnmower actually looks like. Yeah, very, very, very beautiful. Nice
Ours
and
is
big.
to the left.
Yours to the left.
We do
okay.
have the riding mower that was in that video you just saw. And if you did notice, the top of the mower, we actually have SAM. It's solar assisted mower. So we have a solar panel that goes on top of our mower that extends the battery life another half an hour. So if we're mowing for 8 or 9 hours a day, we get that little extra.
And especially you're out
Solar
there in
powered.
the summer,
Yeah.
so you must well just use all you could get, right? The sun is out.
We've never been left. Our mowers never let us down. We never got stuck anywhere. But it has a little. It will let us know. 15 minutes before the mower knows the batteries are depleting, it sends a little signal to the operator. Some lights light up. He has 15 minutes to drive back. So we've never got
Wow.
stuck. But the solar panel's really cool. It just sits on top. It soaks up the sun all day, and the employees get shade when it's really, really hot. Can we
how-
touch back on the decibel?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so let me just go over. I know that was a diesel-powered mower. I think it said, what did 80 decibels,
Yes, I
think?
believe, yeah.
So to give you an indication, gas-powered mowers are more like 90. That's diesel is a little bit different. At 85 decibels, the human ear will start to have damage within 15 minutes. You can't see it, you can't feel it. It's the way the eardrum works. So if nobody's wearing protection, your ears will start to have damage. Our mower, the decibels, I think it's set up there, are between, excuse me for a second, I'm trying to find it, 75 to 80. To give you kind of an indication of what that is, it's like being in a restaurant with people talking. That's the decibels of our lawnmower. As far as what you can hear and how it affects your hearing. So that's why it's huge, because you can get hearing loss. So you always have to have protection.
And you have protection, but your neighbors do not have protection.
Exactly.
The people your lawnmower, so you're protecting yourself and you're protecting
Yep.
the person you're providing services to. So it's great. And because you're a business, there is a cost associated to this. How does that get transferred to the customer?
Well, what we're doing right now is your average, say we'll go on a $50 lawn. If we're just mowing a $50 lawn, depending on obviously not the size necessarily. If there's a lot more trimming, if people have beds that need to be trimmed, it depends how much effort you put into it. It's about 5 to 10%. So that's $5 more. So you go from 50 to 55.
Okay.
It just depends on, the trimming and how much more blowing you have to do, and that determines the 5 to 10%.
Now, are you right now only using the electronic lawnmower, or you give the customers a choice?
We've had this mower for 2 years. We've wanted to kind of work it out. We wanted to see what it was capable of, because it is a learning curve. We have to be very vigilant of plugging it in. In the little quirks, it takes a little bit to learn how to ride. It's a little different. It's a little tricky at first. But we wanted to see how that played out. So in the interim, for the past couple of years, because technology is changing so much on these batteries, we wanted to check out our new products for our small equipment, meaning blowers, trimmers, because it's been changing so much. So this year, we are actually making a division of T&B Landscaping called Quiet Cuts. And it's our lawn care, which will be starting the whole package.
Okay, fantastic.
So we can be on your property with all the electric stuff, and you won't hear us. I mean, it's so important for people, especially in the summer. People work really hard, and they have summer homes, or they take vacations, and they like to have people over. And you have landscapers, and they're making a lot of noise. We can come in and out anytime,
Okay.
and not bother people. in small businesses. If you have a commercial property and you have landscapers that are cleaning up, they either have to come really early, really late, or so
Yeah.
we can be anywhere. You'll see us, but you don't really hear us all that much.
Now, what are you hearing from the public, from your customers? Do they like this? Are they not, I don't want to use the phrase buying into it, but do they encourage you to transform your whole business?
No, not really. I think it depends on different parts of the country are doing this. It's huge in California. It's huge down south. It's huge in certain parts of the country. And I think it's making its way over here. Like I said, we've owned it for 2 years, and we haven't seen the response that I think that eventually we will have, because it's very, very important. That's why we're doing a division of T&B Landscaping. We use gas-powered. We have gas-powered mowers. We're still the same landscaper, but we wanted to offer our customers, or future customers, something a little bit different. Like near Boston, there's towns near Boston that are restricting leaf blowers now. Mm-hmm. They don't want them anymore. Or they can say you can only use them after 7 or not after 5 o'clock in the evening. So that restricts landscapers when they have a very busy day. So towns, it's coming.
Okay.
They're starting to restrict that.
So you're getting ready?
We're getting ready. We've got to be proactive. But it's not just that. I believe in this product. I think it's healthy for our employees. For the first time, I travel a lot, and I'll stop and get a coffee or something during work, and obviously I smell like grass because I've been out mowing with the guys or whatever. And people always say, "Don't you love the smell of fresh cut grass?" And I didn't really think about it because of all the exhaust that we smell. And then when we got this mower, I finally was like, "Okay, I get that now."
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what are you urging the public? What message do you have for people here in Wareham? People are listening. What do you want to tell them? How can they come and take a look at this?
Well, they obviously can contact us through our Facebook page, and we have a website. It just depends. It depends on the person. Some people are reluctant to change, but at the end of the day, if they gave it a shot and they could kind of understand what it's about, I think it's just good for everybody.
Well, every single day I hear a report about climate change, and that it's evident. It is here.
Yes.
And the scientists are urging us to do what we can whenever we can to reverse the negative the negative changes to this planet that we may be stuck with for who knows when. We're killing our planet, and I'm happy that you, as a business owner, you're there to make a profit, but you're taking a step back to think about what you're doing and what you can do to minimize your impact. I'm very happy to hear that.
Well, it's a great product. Like I said, right now it's not about profit because we've been running our mower and we haven't charged it anymore because we're trying to get people into it. I mean, they're just very clean. For example, one mower, electric mower, whether it's our mower, we have a big 52-inch because we have big lawns, is the equivalent of taking 140 cars off the road per year. That's how much exhaust and emissions spews out of landscape equipment all the time.
Wow.
So
you're setting a movement. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you
You're
for
setting a
having me.
movement, and I
Thank you
hope
for letting
more
me
and more people
be
will
here.
jump into this. So that was Nicole Litchfield, business owner of T&B landscaping business here in Wareham, to talk about the electronic lawnmower that is good for the environment. You heard it from her. If you'd like to learn more, do please contact her via Facebook, and she will give you all the information that you need. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Today in History. Hello and thank you for being with us this morning. We are broadcasting live from our WCTV studio. This is Good Morning Wareham, your source for local news, weather, traffic, and more information. And now for a moment in history, let's take a look at where we were today in history. Oh boy, today's first fact of the day, bear with me. The horrible events of Lindbergh baby kidnapping were started on this day in 1932. Charles Lindbergh was an American hero as he was a pioneer in the new field of aviation, famously being the first person to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. Living a life of luxury during the Great Depression, Charles and his wife and his son Charles III were a happy family until the night of March 1st in 1932. The toddler was kidnapped from his room with the kidnapper leaving a ransom note for $50,000, nearly $1 million in today's money. The story broke to the public and the nation was sent into a frenzy. After paying the ransom, the child would sadly be found dead near the Lindbergh's home. Years later, in 1935, a man named Bruno Hauptmann would be convicted of the crime and sentenced to death by electric chair. And moving on to our second fact of the day, going even further back in time, the Salem witch trials were started this day in 1692. Initially, 3 women were charged with practicing illegal witchcraft: Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and a slave named Tituba. After confessing to the crime, probably after being forced, Tituba told authorities to look for more witches that lived in the surrounding area. A total of 150 people were accused of practicing witchcraft before Governor William Phipps created a superior court that made sensationalized trials cease. It is recorded that 19 people were executed during the trials. And moving on to our favorite segment, that is birthdays. Guess whose birthday is today? We have got a couple of pop stars celebrating their birthdays today as we begin March and inch closer to spring. We have Kesha and Justin Bieber both celebrating their big day today. And that's all we have for today's In History. To learn more about cool historical facts, please go online under history.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The coffee segment is next. But first, let's take a look at our events calendar. broadcasting live from our WCTV studio at 505 Main Street in Wareham. This is Good Morning Wareham, and now we are in our coffee segment. Today we're going to learn about a new church in Wareham, Power in Prayer. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you very much for having us.
So I would take this moment to let you guys reintroduce yourselves even further.
Okay.
Let's start with you, Chaplain.
Well, I'm Chaplain Sarah Price.
Okay.
And I'm from the hills of West Virginia. And I started a church also in Virginia.
Yeah.
In Richmond, Virginia. And then I felt urged by God to come here and start a church in Wareham.
Lovely.
And so we do have a church called Power in Prayer Worldwide Outreach Ministries. It's located at the Old Historical Society.
Mm-hmm.
And it's every Sunday morning at 10:30 and every Sunday night at 6:30
Okay.
and every Tuesday night at 6:30.
Wonderful.
I'm Lois Silke.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Sandwich, Massachusetts, and I'm pastor's assistant.
Wonderful.
And I'm really excited about the things that she's bringing to Wareham, the programs and the vision she has for this area. Just marvelous. So I'm very pleased to be here today with her.
Now, how did you two meet? Were you friends while you were in Virginia?
No,
Okay.
I had started coming up here to, I felt such an urgency
Yes.
that Massachusetts needed the gospel.
Okay.
And so I felt like that God was saying, I want you to go and start. I have a big gospel tent.
Yes.
So I would bring my tent up here and we would set the tent and people would come. For 8 years we did this.
You did this right here. You would travel from Virginia to Wareham.
No, it was other towns.
Other towns, and you set up the tent. So with no publicity at all.
We came by faith.
Okay.
And there was a man in Lakeville
Mm-hmm.
called Glenn Kisselini. He opened up his properties for us to set this big tent. And we started having a big gospel tent revival. That's how it started.
Wow.
And then we went from there to his barn and started having revival. And then we went from there to buildings. And then the tent moved. It moved from place to place to place. And I was driving back and forwards to keep the other church going,
Mm-hmm.
and then missionary up here, and trying to do what I felt like I needed to do.
Yeah.
And so then it went to Cape Cod.
Yes.
And then it went to Onset, and we're looking for a new location because we want to set it this summer. We're believing God to give us a new piece of property, to set the tent, because the tent brings a lot of people to come in to hear the gospel. And not only that, we reach a lot of people that are, in need, very much need, homeless and people.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have a soup kitchen, and this is the lady that does most of the cooking. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does the soup kitchen where is it based off?
Right now I'm working in Hyannis, but we're wanting to train people. You have to train groups of people
Mm-hmm.
to do this because it is a bit intensive.
Mm-hmm.
If you're right now, I work out of the St. Joseph's shelter in Hyannis, and we're training some of our people to go in and do the process of the soup. They're feeding almost 70 people every night in Hyannis. And so we have a number of people that are working there with me,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll be bringing that to Onset
Yeah.
and
Yes.
the area, and Wareham in particular, as soon as we have the facility to do that.
Have you reached out to Knights of Hospitality? They take care of the homeless. Here
I'm
in Wareham.
familiar with it.
Okay.
I have not reached out
Mhm.
because I'm interested in the food ministry.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
So I love this idea of really the tent, how the church came about.
It did.
You remind
yeah.
me of the idea, the philosophy that you are the church and
Yeah.
not the building.
That's right. That's correct.
So it must took a lot of work and courage
Oh.
and faith.
Well, we drove over 35,000 miles because we believed in what God can do in Massachusetts. And then we also had a pastor that took interest in us. and his name is Pastor Bill Foster and Pastor Emily Foster in Sandridge and Cape Cod, the Lighthouse Church. And they started letting us have services in their building. And they become a part of us. They started coming and helping us with the tents, and it became like one big family. And this tent revival, we are going to have a tent revival here. I don't know where, but God's going to give us a piece of property.
Yeah.
Because we need a good 2 acres to set the parking and set the tent.
Okay.
But we'd also have the church now,
Okay.
that the Lord has had us to do, start this church. And but it brings the people together. It brings the people away from the tradition of the walls.
And talk about that, because there are a few, not few, but there are several churches here in Wareham, and I'm trying to get an idea of how your church either distinguishes itself from the churches that we have, or what's the message that you are spreading, and how is it different from what the message is in other churches?
I really don't know, because I've just started this church August the 5th, and we just finally got our move up here. So what we're wanting to do is to bring Jesus, the love of Jesus, to Wareham and to Massachusetts.
All right.
We're not going to stop there. We're believing that God can bring this all over, even to the United States.
Yeah.
And we feel that the message is about everybody loving one another again. And just really coming a family, and like Christ said, to love your neighbors as Christ loves the church.
And it's very prevalent at the time that we're in
Yes.
history, right?
Yeah,
So how do you install that in people's minds?
We just tell them the good news of the Word of God, and we tell them that Jesus said to love your neighbor, and to show it, to really show it. You know, we have to show them. We have to, when we have hurting people coming in, you know, we have a lot of people come in that's on drugs and alcohol.
To the church.
To the church.
Yeah.
They're hurting. We don't cast them out. We welcome them and nourish them and talk to them and try to help them. They'll come in and out, in and out. But we teach the people about the Word of God, the truth about the Word of God.
Yeah.
We've believed that if we get the message about who Jesus is, the love will come into all of us.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now you have been involved in the church all your life. You took over from your dad,
Yes.
right? So you have seen how faith or churches have transformed through the years, throughout
Yes.
the history. Tell me how it was back when you used to see your dad preach the Word of God to when you are now preaching the Word of God.
The crowd was more.
Okay.
The crowd came, but now people has lost the love of going to church, and they need to get their families back in church now. And back then there was a strong move of God. You know, people wanted God. They didn't push him out. They needed him. And the Lord's been feeling this in America, that we pushed him out. But myself and the little people are saying, no, Lord, we haven't pushed you out. We need you.
Okay.
And he's really moving. Now, back then, the crowds were more. People were interested in going to church. People, they couldn't wait to go.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing this here.
Here in Wareham?
Yeah, people are saying, we can't wait to get to church. We're having people that getting off their jobs in Boston and cannot wait to get into the church house to hear the teachings that we do. And because they want to be filled with what the Lord has for them. And they said their lives has changed. It's the same message that my father had. It's the same message that he's Lord, and he still heals today, and he loves you, and that he will make a way where it seems to be no way.
Now, first of all, you don't see many of women as chaplains, as priests. You do not see that. They are nowadays, we see them thanks to social media, but it wasn't a tradition back then. You know, So tell me, if you had to prove yourself, or how hard or easy was it for you to follow the steps of your father?
Very hard.
Very hard. Okay.
Very hard, because in West Virginia, it was the men carried the message, you see.
Yeah.
Even in Virginia, the same way. But there's a lot of women in Richmond, Virginia, raising up pastors and evangelists and chaplains. And so when my founders, which was under Reverend H. Richard Hall from Cleveland, Tennessee, he came to us and he said, you know, God is going to use you to finish the last day move of His glory. And I said, okay. So I didn't understand that.
How old were you back then? How young were you?
Oh, probably 18 years old,
And
17.
they're coming
They're all,
to you.
they're all time telling me, yeah, you're gonna do, and I'm like, no, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it took a strong man to marry me, because he had to understand me as well too. And his name's, you know, Pastor Donnie Price, which he's pastoring the church with me too. But the difference is the people don't want to go to church no more. The electronics has got them, the TV's got them, the other things has got them more interest than God. But see, they don't understand. We're at the end time now. And if I went by the Word of God, we're close to the coming of the Lord, and He's on His way. And the message my dad had was about the return of Jesus. And he'd always tell me, you're going to finish this work. And I said, nah, you're going to finish it. But he did pass away. And when he did, then it fell on me. So we do Revelation conferences. We do Daniel. We do many books of the Bible conferences. We teach them word by word so they can understand. We've seen a lot of manifestation of the healing of God's glory, of people being healed and touched by His presence. But the message is now is that we love you, and the people need to get ready for the coming of the Lord, because things are getting ready to shift in America. And God does speak to me. People don't understand that, but God does.
Yes.
But it takes a lot of prayer and a lot of fasting,
Devotion,
relationship with Christ. And it's spending time with Him, knowing Him.
Now, how are you planning to compete? You talked about social media interfering, in people's lives, in their faith. How do you plan to compete with that?
Right now, the only way we can really compete with it is prayer.
Okay.
Because we're asking God to touch their hearts, to make sure that they'll come back to the landmark that God has called them to do. There's a lot of people here in Massachusetts that I've found out that they have a gifting inside of them about the Word of God, of teaching, witnessing, but they're not allowed to. And with my ministry, we're raising up discipleships that people can come to the fullness of what they need to do, what they feel like God is calling them to do. We're not pressuring them, you see?
Yes.
We're letting them develop. We're letting them birth what they feel like that is real.
All right.
And then we send them forth and teach them how to go forth.
Well, we have a few minutes left, and I would like us to talk about if any upcoming events, how people can get in touch with you. What's next?
They can get in touch with me. We have a website. I think I gave it to you.
Yes.
harvestblessings112@gmail.com. Or they can call the office. One of the offices is 804-898-1485.
Okay.
Or they can come to the church.
To come to the church, all right.
Come to the church. And it's just right here, the Historical Society. Again, we have service at 10:30 a.m.
Okay.
We have service at Tuesday night at 6:30 and Sunday night at 6:30.
Okay.
And we start praise and worship then, and we just let the Lord have His way.
Well, thank you, ladies, for being here this morning. I know we've tried to get you guys in here. You've been very busy.
You've been very busy.
So I'm very happy that you got to come in.
Thank you.
And I know that you would try to work with us so you could spread your message and try to reach out to broader audiences here. And yeah, so thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Okay, so that was our coffee segment, and we were talking about Power in Prayer. It's the new church located right next door from our building. It's the Historical Society building there. So they have services Sunday at 10:30 in the morning and also 6:30 p.m., Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., and also on Saturdays, right?
No.
Sundays
through Tuesday.
through Tuesday. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, you can check out them, and you'll be able to get in touch with them if you want to learn more about Power in Prayer. So that was our coffee segment, and that concludes our show. We'll be back here on Monday. We have the Gleason YMCA will be here with us, and also we'll be hosting the Wareham DECA chapter. They'll be here to talk about their 5th annual Home and Living show that's coming up very soon. So you have a reason to tune on Monday to watch this show. If you missed us this morning, do not panic. This episode will re-air this evening at 6 p.m. And currently we have these episodes online on our YouTube page, Wareham Community Television YouTube page. You'll see all the episodes. I believe this is like our 19th show or 18th show. So I'm very excited. So you'll see all those episodes from number 1 to where we are today. So I cannot thank you enough, my viewers. Thank you for tuning in this morning, and I wish you all a fantastic weekend.